Now what I'm going to do here it is I'm going to assign a permissions to this one. For getting your ACL list, already you have a ACL is assigned to your directory or file. You can just to type get FACL, okay, and provide your directory name, so that you will get the list here. See, file the all here in the Linux is calculated as a file. So directory, or it is in a, for our convenience it is directory, but Linux will consider that is also a file only, right? So the owner is root and group is root, and user has read and write execute permissions, and group has read and write execute permissions, others did not have any permission. Okay, now let's say I'm so I'm switching back to the f user only, right, or p user. Okay, p user 4. Okay, I'm switching back to here and go to cd/acl. So what it is saying, denied, because the p user 4 is not the member of that root group, or is not owning that directory permissions. Okay, so others does not have any read or execute permissions or write permissions. Okay, so now what we are going to do here it is I am going to assign a permission to that p user 4 by assigning a ACL. Okay, so that you should have the permissions. Now type set FACL -m and U for user here, G for group, O for others. Okay, so now we are going to assign a permissions to user U. Okay, and what is the username? We have to use user 4. Yes, yes, p user is a user, but in this consideration is others, come to the others category, right? Because see here, ACL directory, what is the user and group permissions we have? Ownership, root as a owner. Okay, group member, group is root. Okay, this p user 4 is not the member of root group, right? This is the group, root is the group, root is the owner. You're getting? Owner in the sense he is the uh, owner who is created that file. We use the root user ID to create that directory, right? So by default it will assign is UID and is GID, primary GID will be assigned to the directory. So the root has his own UID, his own GID. Okay. Yes. Yes. Others, no, see, so you're mixing different things. Okay, so now this is the directory, right? So directory has a ownership. Okay, who owns the ownership here? Root is the owner for the directory, right? Okay, what is this root here? That is a group. Root is the group. So whenever you are, by default, whenever the root is created, the same name, with the same name root group also created, right? See, if you type ID here, so root UID is 0 and his GID also 0. Is primary root and primary root. So whenever I created this directory, it assigned ownership to the root and group ownership to the root. Okay, user ownership and group ownership. Okay, so user as read and write execute permissions and group as read and write execute permissions. Okay, others did not have any permissions here. So p user is not the member of root group, right? So the owner is root. In the sense, this p user, in case of considering the ACL is the directory, so p user comes to the which category now? In the sense, which uh, not secondary group, right? So here he comes into the others category, because 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 this p user 4 is not the member of root, or is the directory is not owned by him. So in this directory case is the other member, right? So now what I'm doing here, it is, so others did not have any permissions here, 0, but this p user 4 is coming into the others category. Now what I am doing here, it is, others did not have permissions, but still this user should have the permission to that directory. Okay, so now what I am doing here, it is, I am assigning read and execute permissions, okay, to the ACL directory. Okay, enter. Now get FACL and type the directory name. So what we get here, the user p user 4 got read and execute permission to ACL directory. Yeah, yes, 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 yeah. So in this situation, we can provide the permissions in two ways. Okay, so what we can do here, it is, we can modify these others permissions as read and execute, so that the p user will get the permission. Okay, or else add this p user to the root group, so that you will get the ACL permissions, sorry, read and execute permissions, because the group has read and write execute permissions here. So I don't want to do the both the ways, because if I give a read and execute permissions to the others here, so these others comes in the sense all the users who are there in this machine, the permissions will be applicable to them. So if I assign read and execute permissions here, I am not only assigning the permissions to this p user 4, I am assigning the permissions to the all the users. In the sense, I am giving a permissions blindly to the all the users on this machine. So there is no specification that I'm not giving to the particular user. I am giving the permission to the all the users. So I don't want to do that. I want to restrict here. So I'm not. That's why I removed these others permissions. I made it 0, so that others users in the sense, who are the others, except the owner or the group, in this case, are others, right? this p user is not the member of this root group, or he is not owning this directory, so he come into the others. Okay, so what I'm doing here, it is, if I give these others permissions, not p user 4 will get the permissions, all the members in this machine also they will get the permissions. So I don't want to give to the others, in the sense I have p user 2, I have p user 4, but I don't want to give them access. I want to give only permission to p user 4. So in this case what I'm doing, I'm restricting others from here, and this member p user 4 I'm giving an a read execute permission by assigning an ACL to this directory. Okay, so now we got the read and execute permissions. Now what we can do here, it is, we can simply switch back to the p user 4. Okay, switch p user 4 and try to access to the ACL. Now he is able to access, but let's see whether he can able to create some directory or not. No, right? Is not able to, because we did not given any write access here. Okay, get FACL and see ACL. See, we did not given any write permissions here, we given only the read and execute permissions. So if you assign a permissions again, set FACL and -m u p user 4 and assign read and write execute permissions to ACL directory. Now switch back to the p user 4 and access ACL directory and create some file. Right, created. Okay, now switch back to the p user 3. Okay, and try to access ACL directory. So our permission is successful, right? In the sense we want to provide an access to p user 4, we provided the access to p user 4, not to p user 3, right? So that is the thing here it is. But if you want to give the permissions by normal situation without providing an ACL, so it is not possible you to give the permissions. So you can give the permission by kicking off the owner of root away and provide the p user 3 as a owner, okay, to ACL directory. Now we provided the p user 3 as a full permissions. See, p user has full permissions now, read and write execute. So root does not have that permissions. Right, see what I did here, it is, I assigned an ownership to the p user 3, the owner as read and write execute permissions. Okay, this one is here and this one is here and this other is others. Okay, so like this we can assign the permissions. But the thing here it is, the p user 3 got read and write execute permissions, but root lost is permissions. As a member he lost, but as a group member he has read and write execute, but as a ownership he lost the permissions. So one user if you give, then other user will lose the permissions. So I don't want to do that, I want to give, so ownership should be there for the existing user, in the same time I want to give the access to the others in the sense other users. Okay, so we can give multiple users and multiple groups permissions. So this is the ACL permissions. So ACL permissions you can give by using an M. So like this, set FACL. Okay, let's I'm just giving the commands here, I'm not typing anything here. So group G is called group. Okay, so in this case you have to give your group name, group 1. So whatever the permissions you wanted to give, like this, and provide your directory. Okay, and set FACL. Again I have an M. No, just I'm typing the commands. Okay, and if you want to give to the user, p user 4, and you can give read and write execute or anything like this. Okay, so if you want to give to the others, you can give the others. So others is not applicable here. If you give to the others, in the sense other people will have the access, right? So others will not be. Yes, tell me. -m does not have any meaning, but we should give the -m to assign a permissions. In the sense we are assigning the permissions. So if you want to remove the permissions, so simply in place of m we are going to use a x. In place of m we are going to use x, so that it will remove your permissions. Okay, so what we have to do here, it is, now if I want to remove a permission, set FACL -x and user p user 4, and do not give any permissions, just type like this, so that the permissions will be revoked from the ACL file. Okay, enter here and type get FACL. Now type directory name, so user 4 is gone. Okay, that's it. So simple way you can assign the permissions, we can revoke the permissions. So you can assign to the users, you can assign to the group. Okay, you can remove the permissions, you can. So particular, if you want to remove only particular permission, okay, you can also do by colon what are the permissions you want to remove, that permission only you specify there. Okay, I want to revoke only write permission, then what you can do here, it is, you can just type :w, so that the write permissions only will be revoked for that user. Okay, so yeah, this is about the FACL. So from this also there is a question. Okay, so simple question is that assign a permissions to the user, okay, without losing the file ownership. Root, in our case root. So root should not you should not remove the root, but you should give the ownership to the other member, the other user. Okay, that is the one more question you are going to get into the RSCSA exam. Okay, so practice in a different format. See what I am telling, if you are practicing the same one, then you are not going to get anything. So you just do a different things, okay, by your own, then you can get it. So one more thing here, it is, if you want to copy a axis, like what are the axis you already have, suppose say what I mean here, it is, I have the permissions here, ACL for ACL, I have some permissions, the same permissions I want to copy or I want to replicate to the other file or other directory. Okay, so simply what you can do here, it is get FACL, okay, -access, and provide your directory name here and send the output to the next command and say set FACL, okay, -d -m and assign to the other directory, suppose say trail. So what I'm doing here, it is I'm getting the FACL permission from ACL directory, and I'm assigning the same ACL permissions to the trail directory. So what it means that whenever you have some permissions you already apply to one directory structure, the same directory structure permissions I wanted to assign to the different directory. Okay, you no need to do by manually by, okay, this user has permission, this user has permission, this user has permissions, or this group has permission, something like that. Okay, you can simply get the FACL from that directory and assign the same set of ACL to the next directory. In the single command, the same permissions will be replicated from ACL directory to trail directory. You got it? Yeah, that's it. Capital M in the sense we are transferring that permissions. In the sense these permissions we are not giving by ourselves. Okay, we are transferring these permissions. In the sense, so this command will get the permissions from here, the ACL list from here, and it will pass to next command set FACL, and we are assigning this directory permissions to this. It enter trailing slash. So where I did trailing slash here. Okay. Set FACL removing leading observed path. Okay. So we already into the slash. Okay. That's why it's again we are going to. Okay. Let's see. Get FACL to slash trail group. So we got the same permissions. Okay, so this way we can just assign a permissions to that directory.